give just this.
Okay.
And then I'll sit while you're done.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
It's an activity bag. That one's
Awesome. Yes. During announcements, and I'll announce it during my part two. Who is it? Yeah, when we're doing announcements, you can just come up and say, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're good. Are you okay? Don't apologize. It doesn't matter. I have company around me. You have things to do. That's like your party. Do you want to switch seats so you're able to get up more often?
I mean, you can. I won't stop you.
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
Where are the kids today?
They're at grandma's.
Yes, Grandma offered making brownies,
Oh.
and I can't compete with that.
They're very on a whim last minute, whether or not they want you to go or not. You never know.
Okay.
Love those shirts and your emails.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Hey. Oh, how wonderful. Actually, I've got some in the car. I can give her. Yeah. Oh, good. I think I've got both of them in the trunk. Yeah, so that would look. I love that. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Good travels when you go back to New Hampshire. Good travels.
Yes, thank you.
Are you driving or flying?
Oh, flying this time. Yeah, we rode last year and it's a long.
It is. I know.
Getting here is easy.
I know. I have several times ridden up to Cape Cod and then to Maine, and then started back. And that was in my head when I decided to do this. Of course, I was 30 years younger, but still. Yeah. Yeah. And avoid Washington. Yeah, I know. I have gotten caught in the Washington Triangle.
Nope.
Yeah. Although the first time I went to Cape Cod, it was like going spooky. I don't know. So beautiful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please stand and body your spirit as we sing our gathering hymn, Love Will Guide Us, number 131. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Hillsborough. We are an open and welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, member, friend, or guest, we are glad that you are here. Tomorrow is July 4th. That is the day that we as a country have set aside to celebrate our democracy. Sadly, for me, at this moment, our democracy seems under attack. The Supreme Court decision strips women of the fundamental right to bodily autonomy. Recent mass shootings strip every person in this country of a feeling of safety. And many states are passing laws that restrict the ability of citizens to cast votes and have their voices counted. I know that the members of this congregation are all striving for that more perfect future and yearn for a time when this country will actually live up to the ideals of its creation. I know that we can make a difference, and I wanted to thank all of you for the work you've done and for the work that I know we will all continue to do. I'd also like to thank everyone who has made this worship celebration possible. Our music director, Aviva Enoch. Our listening ear today is Jerry Morris. My name is Heather Kraft, and I'm the worship coordinator for today. Our speaker is AJ Mayhew, who's been a longtime member of this congregation and is an amazing author. She has written 2 novels that have both received acclaim. Today, AJ will be talking on the July topic of journey. As Josh Pollock said, when you contemplate your own spiritual journey, are you setting out or coming home? Before we create our sacred space to begin worship, let's take a moment to share any announcements.
Good morning. I'm Jerry Morris. I'm actually standing in for Lou this morning. He had to be out of town. So, okay. Again, I'm Jerry Morris, and I'm standing in for Lou this morning. If any of you have had a hard day or just feeling in need of someone to listen to what you have to say, I'll be, after the service is over, I'll be out at the yurt on the green yurt outside, and we can talk.
If there are no more announcements, let's please silence our cell phones. We are in green, so masks are optional at your comfort level. We are a community of liberal, open-minded people who strive to connect with one another in love. We are defined by covenant rather than a statement of belief or creed. We support each other in spiritual growth, deepening of faith, and challenging one another to find more love and deep truth inside ourselves and in the world. We will now create our sacred space by lighting our chalice, the UU symbol for the light of truth that each of us seeks, the light of hope that each of us brings, and the eternal light of love. Our reading is The End is the Beginning by Katie Gelfand. We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know with brave hearts that from every ending of our lives, we set forth to make a new beginning. Please stand in either body or spirit to sing our opening hymn, number 1011 in the teal hymnal, Return Again.
Return
For those of you who prefer to silently acknowledge your joys and sorrows remaining in your hearts, I invite you to come to the altar and release a stone into the vase in silence while Aviva plays Spirit of Life. After everyone is seated and Aviva has played it through one time, you're all invited to join in singing the words printed in your hymnal. In your order of service. We hold all these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken, by remaining silent for a moment as we consider what has been shared and how we might respond. May the community respond, Amen and blessed be.
Amen. Blessed be.
We actually do not have our children's services this Sunday, since they are on the second and fourth Sundays over the summer. So we're going to skip singing the children to class, and I will welcome AJ Mayhew.
The UU theme for July is Journey. Upon hearing that, I did what I often do when given a topic to write on, which is to seek definitions and to see what others have had to say on the subject. In the Oxford English Dictionary, journey is defined as an ordinary day's travel, the distance usually traveled in a day, estimated in the Middle Ages to be 20 miles. And from this definition, we get the word journeyman, a worker who has learned a trade and works for another person by the day. The 1947 Webster's Collegiate Dictionary defined journey as a day's work or travel. I was surprised to see that the definition hasn't changed that much since around the year 1400 or so. And I came across a rather odd definition in the 2022 Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Journey usually means traveling a long distance and often in dangerous or difficult circumstances. The most common synonyms for journey are trip and travel. I might say I'm taking a trip to the beach, traveling on Highway 74, but I can't imagine saying I'm taking a journey to the beach. Journey implies a quest, a pilgrimage, rather than travel, and thus is more potent than its synonyms. As you'll soon see, the journey I'll speak about today began with 2.5 hours of travel over a distance of 120 miles into unknown territory, but not dangerous. The word journey brings to mind an old aphorism that will most likely be familiar to you. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I contemplated that, then found this poem in Soul Matters. Step 0, Reverend Gretchen Haley. If you had the chance to start again, to make your life from scratch, to decide what sort of person you would be, who you would love, and how, the content of your day, your hours, what songs would you sing to yourself or with others? What prayers would fall from your lips urgently and with praise, with mercy or hope? What blessings would you name and share with strangers and friends? If you could take now that first step, what journey would you begin across deserts or mountains? Or would you take to the sky, which despite the bitter cold is still vast and filled with light? What work would you take? What mischief would you make with boldness and bravery? What failure would you embrace? And what would you release? And where, in the end, would you return and call home? No magic wishing or wondering is required, for such a chance is always available. As with the in and out of our breath, to begin now, to live like we mean it, to see with new eyes the life that is already and always available, to respond to this gift with wonder and gratitude, to join in this partnership, to tend this flame even when it breaks our heart, to keep showing up, to go with courage into this dawning day. On May the 5th, 1985, I was visiting a small theater company in the mountains of North Carolina in connection with my work on the theater board of Charlotte. About 10 o'clock in the evening, as I was getting ready for bed, the phone rang in my motel room. I was startled to hear my mother's voice. I hadn't told her where I was going, and only later did I find that she had called one of my co-workers at Charlotte Opera to see if they knew where I was. Mama said, "AJ, Frank is gone." I had no idea what she meant. Did gone mean out of town? Did it mean dead? The only person I knew who my mother called Frank was my brother, and he had died 20 years earlier. "Mama, what are you talking about?" She said, "He and Georgia were in Florida." Then I knew Mama meant my father. She had never before called him Frank when speaking to me, always Daddy or your father. They had been divorced for 15 years, but to Mama, he was still the love of her life. Whatever sadness she felt about his passing would be genuine. Less than 3 months after my father's death, I had sold my condominium and half of my possessions, had quit my job, and rented a renovated tobacco barn near Jordan Lake in Chatham County. I look back on that frantic 3 months and have two major recollections. First, I had to tell Mama I was leaving town, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. I was the only one of her 5 children still living in Charlotte, and we had become quite close, seeing each other often and helping with a problem or celebrating a birthday. I dreaded telling her about my move, but as so often happens in a case of dread, it was unwarranted. She totally surprised me by saying, "Wow, AJ, you get to start over and you're only 45. I had to wait till I was 52. Maybe someday I'll tell you about Mama's journey. My second clear recollection of the actual move is that of a rainy night when I drove north on I-85, heading for my new home near Chapel Hill, my 17-year-old son following me in a U-Haul. At the barn, we unloaded enough to get us through the night, a mattress for me and a sleeper sofa for him. I woke the next morning to the second half of my life. That journey was not, of course, long contemplated. Even 6 months earlier, I had no idea I would leave Charlotte, where I was born and had lived most of my life. I'd recently had my first national publication and had secretly begun to fantasize about being a writer full-time, a dream it would take another 20 years to realize. But too many things stood in my way. The need to have a home base for my children, first and foremost, though all of them had flown the nest. The need to make a living. The need to have close friends nearby, etc. But I'd made some money on the sale of my condo and would soon be coming into a bit of an inheritance. Together, I'd have enough to live on for a year before going back to work, if I was willing to squander my little fortune. I've had folks say, "Wow, that was a gutsy thing to do. Leave your hometown and move into a barn." Or, "My goodness, how brave." Or, "Weren't you afraid you'd run out of money and not be able to find a job? After all, you're no spring chicken." Though I never thought of that major move as a spiritual journey, not even a journey per se, years later I came to understand that it was. For everyone who wants to make a living in the arts, whether it's writing or painting, sculpture or photography, singing or dancing or acting, there is metaphorically the terror of the blank page. You've sharpened your pencils or bought a computer. Mine was an Apple IIc, as ancient today as a stone and chisel. Your brushes are clean, paint's on the palette, you've invested in a darkroom, you've spent years learning to dance on your toes or sing an aria or play Lady Macbeth, and you're ready. But is your spirit ready? Your soul? Is your daydreaming self ready for reality? Here I'm reminded of something I read many years ago. Kurt Vonnegut advised in A Man Without a Country, "If you really want to hurt your parents, go into the arts." He says, I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They are a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. While I appreciated Vonnegut's advice, which he himself hadn't taken, I was committed to journeying into the unknown territory of writing full-time, as he said, to make life more bearable. I set up my office on the second floor of the barn, where a wall of windows looked out over Jordan Lake east toward Raleigh. Windows that were not insulated, as I learned during the winter. For many weeks, I lived with the terror of the blank screen. I've been published. Wasn't I a professional? I would later advise beginning writers, do not publish a short story and quit your day job. But that's exactly what I did. Looking back, I don't know what the outcome would have been if I hadn't left my comfortable life in Charlotte for a barn in the boonies. After a year, my funds got skimpy and I needed to go back to work. So I bought a copy of the Chapel Hill News, the first newspaper I had bought since leaving Charlotte, and scoured the want ads, the help wanted ads, believing the words I'd heard all my life. Seek, and ye shall find. Matthew 7:7. And sure enough, I found an ad in the newspaper, the only ad I pursued, and was soon working in obstetrics and gynecology at UNC School of Medicine as a writer and editor on a medical journal. I moved into an apartment 3 blocks down South Columbia from the hospital, where I worked for the next 12 years. During that time, I wrote at home evenings and weekends, working on what started as a short story that simply wouldn't stop, and it ultimately became a novel. Back in the 70s, a decade before my move to the barn, I had joined the Unitarian Church of Charlotte. This was before Universalism was added. I had joined the Unitarian Church of Charlotte, where a poster in the stairwell said, "This congregation is founded upon freedom of worship according to individual belief." For almost 3 years, I worked with a teen group. Back then, it was called Liberal Religious Youth, or LRY, and the kids quickly began to call themselves the last real yippies. They still today. I have an email address that says yips. One of the greatest gifts I got in that congregation was coming out as an agnostic, no longer anxious about identifying myself that way, and leaving behind the Christian Presbyterian Sunday school of my childhood that had taught me to worship an old, white, male deity. While living in the barn, I attended ERUF occasionally, though I never felt entirely comfortable there, and for a few years didn't attend any church or congregation. The last geographic leg of my journey brought me here in 1991 and to this congregation in 1995. Thus, I zigzagged from the barn in Chatham County up Mount Carmel Church Road, a hard right on 15501, and a hard left onto South Columbia, then Highway 86 due north to Hillsborough. Mine was not a journey of desperation, of having to leave a life of danger and constant fear, of necessity brought about by penury and destitution. I had many choices, could have moved almost anywhere, even Switzerland, where Mama's cousins still lived. Yet I chose to travel only 120 miles. This past week, I've thought a lot about journeys of desperation, having read of the 42 who died in a tractor trailer, fleeing homelands where their families were in constant peril. I'll share another poem from Soul Matters. If We Do Not Venture Out by Marnie Harmony, and it said it was adapted from the original. If on a starlit night, with the moon brightly shimmering, we stay inside and do not venture out, the evening universe remains a part of life we shall not know. If on a cloudy day, with grayness infusing awe and rain dancing rivers in the grass, we stay inside and do not venture out, the storming, threatening energy of the universe remains a part of life we shall not know. If on a frosty morning, dreading the chilling air before the sunrise, we stay inside and do not venture out, the awesome cold, quiet, and stillness of the dawn universe remains a part of life we shall not know. If throughout these grace-given days of ours, surrounded as we are by green life and brown death, hot pink joy and cold gray pain, and miracles, always miracles. If we stay inside ourselves and do not venture out, then the fullness of the universe shall be unknown to us, and our locked hearts shall never feel the rush of worship. If someone asks me if Hillsborough is my hometown, I respond, yes, it is now. Upon occasional trips back to Charlotte, I'm astonished by the big city bustle, the traffic, the cost of a restaurant meal or hotel room. And in retrospect, I see that my life there was busy, too busy, and that it took a journey to slow me down, to have the quiet solitude vital to creation, to develop new lifelong friendships. Thus it is that I traveled from home to home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, AJ. Each week, we take a monetary offering of donations to support our social justice work in the community. This month, our community partner we share the collection with is Northern Orange County NAACP. You may donate by putting cash or a check in the basket, or you may also go online and donate through our website. Aviva will be playing Wayfaring Stranger. Please join me in our prayer of collective gratitude found in your order of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. Our closing hymn is number 293, O Star of Truth. Please be seated. Our closing words are by Lynn Cox, The Courage to Continue on the Journey. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none, we give thanks for this time and this place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again after the disaster, after the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and our planet. May we forgive each other when our courage falls short, and may we try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a fit dwelling place for the holy that resides in all beings. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this we add the silent prayers of our hearts. Please join me with our closing words, printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, my friends, and blessed be.
Blessed be.
Jacob didn't even cry.